Hello friends, and welcome to Powerhouse Bakery at Nutrition Matters Inc. I'm Suzanne Parker and I'm a registered dietitian, and I am supporting the ThriveWell Foundation. I love to be a part of the Divas and Dudes, and what we do here at Powerhouse Bakery is we teach that healthy can taste amazing. I've been a part of this team for quite some time. In fact, I got to meet Jose when they were looking for some gluten-free cookies, and lo and behold, a great relationship was born. When I came to this whole idea of starting Powerhouse Bakery, my goal was to really show the world that just because something is free of gluten doesn't mean it has to be free of nutrition. So I put on my science cap and I figured out how to make a really healthy flour blend that, even though it was lacking the gluten that a lot of people had troubles with and even allergies to, it still could be loaded with the nutrition that is normally a part of the wheat plant. And so I came up with a couple of different flour blends. One was a nut flour blend, and that is exactly what we're going to talk about today. When we try to take out the nutrients that are normally a part of the wheat plant, which really was a wonderful part of our history and our culture in keeping Americans and actually humans well fed for millennia. The wheat plant is loaded with protein and fiber and minerals, and somehow over the years, because of maybe the way we've been growing the wheat plant, maybe our soils, maybe even processing of those plants, once we take it out of the field and try to make the foods, we really change the characteristics of the protein in that plant, which is the gluten. And so the gluten, for some reason, caused people to have an allergy. And so again, when I decided to make Powerhouse Bakery, I wanted to find a way to really make a nutritious substitution for that wheat. And again, I came up with the nut flour blend because I loved the qualities that the nut provides. And so that flour blend is made up of coconut, quinoa, and hazelnuts. And hazelnuts are a darling of the nutrition world because they're so loaded with protein, even some fiber, as well as lots of minerals. And so what I want to share with you today is nuts and seeds and the real salute to the Powerhouse foods. And of course, I created the name Powerhouse Bakery because I really wanted to share how important foods are in the powerhouse of our nutrition and feeding our bodies and fueling our immune system. That's the most important part of eating well, is how do we maintain our immune system so we can fight off disease and even keep our health and our strength in the middle of the fight of our life, like getting over a disease or fighting through treatments. And so that's where we are. We really want to make sure that we give our bodies everything we can to fight the fight. And so what I'm going to show you today is some of the really important nuts and seeds that I learned about as I was building the repertoire of Powerhouse Bakery. Again, we've been in business for 7 years, and I've learned so much from my clients and the visitors that come to Powerhouse Bakery, really learning what their allergies are and what their flavors and their requests are, as far as when they're looking for something that is tasty and delicious and has a good texture and flavor. And you can't go wrong with the mighty seed and nut. So one other thing that I also added to all of the foods that we have here at Powerhouse Bakery is this wonderful trio of seeds: the chia, the hemp hearts, and the flaxseed. And so I came up with this little term called the Mighty Seed Blend, and I think you can find something very similar now at different health food stores and maybe even HEB. But they're so unique because the chia seed is this beautiful little dark seed. You can also get them in a light color, and they not only are powerhouse of minerals and protein, they also have a wonderful quality that adds texture. If you grind up the chia seed, it is now a great thickener. So as I developed my flour blends for breads and pizzas and even my muffins, having this chia seed that's softened in a liquid is a great way to add a nice thickening texture to any kind of dough. The hemp heart is another wonderful way to get some essential fats, amino acids, and lots of minerals as well. You might have heard of hemp in lots of different contexts. Of course, there's CBD shops everywhere now, and it all stems from this amazing plant. The hemp plant is one that has been around for centuries. It's loaded with nutrition. Not only is it a great and healthy way for people to get nutrition, it's also a fantastic crop to grow in our organic farming practices. So one of the best things that's happened with all this interest in CBD oil is that now our farmers can grow hemp. It's a fantastic way to add nutrients back into the soil so that now we can have great soils for growing other products. Who knows, we might even be able to reinvent the wheat plant like it was back centuries ago, and it really was so healthy for the vast majority of people. But the hemp seed is super healthy, and I promise it will not come up positive on any kind of drug test. The hemp heart or the hemp seed is no relation at all to the other part of the plant that has the active chemical THC. And so at Powerhouse Bakery, we have nutrition classes for the divas and dudes, and we've talked a lot about how to decipher between the hemp and the active ingredient that is in some of the products on the market now. So rest assured, you're safe with hemp hearts and hemp seeds. And then the other component of the Mighty Seed Trio is the flax seed. So in this little dish, I have ground up the flax seeds. They're a golden brown. You can also get a darker colored seed that's flax. Very high in lignans as well as phytochemicals. It's a wonderful way to add nutrients to your diet. Some people will often ask me if it's better to have the seed ground up ahead of time, or should you buy the whole seed? And what I like to say is it's always best to get the seeds in their whole form. That way the outer shell, the fiber, protects all those delicate oils and electrolytes that are in that seed. So it's really good to buy them whole. Have a dedicated coffee bean grinder that you can use for all of your seeds, and you can just grind them as you go. A great way to add nutrients to your oatmeal in the morning is to do a teaspoon of each of these mighty seeds in your oatmeal. You can also add it to your smoothie. And here at Powerhouse, we've gotten really creative. We can add these mighty seeds even to our meatloaf, our meatballs, of course to our quinoa dishes. Pretty much anything is really nice with adding these in. If you don't want to have any flavor component, probably the chia seed will be the best one. The hemp seed will be the best one as far as no flavor. It's very mild. It sort of reminds me of maybe another kind of nut, the pine nut, where it's very soft flavor. One that's going to have a little bit more of a flavor would be the flax seed. So again, if you blend them together, like I've done in the Mighty Seed Blend, now you get a really soft flavor and you get a powerhouse of nutrition in those seeds. Another one that I want to show you is the nuts. The nut family is loaded with protein as well as fiber and a lot of minerals. The selenium is the one mineral that's really high in this fancy little nut called the Brazil nut. I absolutely love this nut. A lot of doctors like to recommend 5 Brazil nuts a day to get your selenium requirement for the day, and they taste amazing. They're slightly crunchy. I've kind of rough chopped this nut, and I've put it in one of our absolute most popular granolas called the Brazilian granola. No surprise there, right, with the Brazil nut. So I just did a rough chop with this, and I added some cardamom and some organic maple syrup to an oat-based granola, and oh my gosh, it's amazing. We can even use that granola as a topping for a breakfast cereal. So if you made your traditional oatmeal and you sprinkled some Brazil nuts or even my Brazilian granola, it's a great way to add selenium, extra protein and fiber, and even some of those healthy fats. One thing that's really valuable in all the nuts is those essential fats. So sometimes people that are trying to follow a more plant-based diet, they use the nuts and the seeds as their protein. And that's good. Nuts and seeds certainly do have a lot of protein, but they're actually very high in fat also. So whenever I'm helping somebody learn how to do a meal plan, and they're learning their macronutrients, which again, we only have 3 categories. There's proteins, there's carbohydrates, and there's fats. Where would these nuts and seeds fit? Well, they actually count as a fat. So we want to make sure that we're just aware of how many fat calories can come from these beautiful nuts. And so that just reminds us that a little goes a long way. They're not only power-packed with protein and electrolytes, so those minerals, they're also going to be pretty concentrated in the essential fats. So, the fats are not all created equal. We've got monounsaturates, we've got polyunsaturates, and then we have the saturated fats. So of those, nuts and seeds are going to have primarily a blend, which is what we love. Saturated fats are absolutely important in our diet. Meats and animal products are kind of more known for the saturated fat sources, which is true. But nuts do have some saturated fat, and that's actually really good for us. Our body is absolutely prepared to digest and thoroughly benefit from saturated fats. What we don't get enough of typically is the monounsaturates and the polyunsaturates. So that's where nuts are even better because they have a great source of those kinds of fats, which is what we want. So if your doctor had said your cholesterol is high or your blood fats are not a very good ratio, adding nuts is a great way to improve that, because if we add the monounsaturates and the polyunsaturates, it improves the ratio of the not so good fats. So short story is, nuts are a great resource for healthy fats. They do provide a good amount of protein as well, and also fully loaded with good stuff, including the minerals and vitamins. So I'm going to show you some of the products that we do here at Powerhouse Bakery so you can see how easy they are to add into other flavors. Granolas are typically the most popular. Now this granola I've named Going Nuts in the Tub. It's kind of a fun name because it's all nuts. And who would have thought a granola could be crunchy yet sticks together with all those characteristics of granola and still be all nuts? Well, how we were able to do that was use these fabulous chia seeds. So when you soak chia seeds, they do have a wonderful texture, like I mentioned. What's even more interesting is they can also carry a flavor. So what I've done is soften the chia seeds in cherry juice, and so now we've got a mega nutritious juice that adds sweetness and is going to add the texture to make my nutty granola stick together. And it's all natural sweetener, so it's a great way to do it. You could do this at home as well, adding blueberry juice or of course another type of juice that you love. Soften your chia in that juice and then add it with some nuts and you've got this great crunchy granola. You can bake it for a little while and again that'll add to the texture. Really popular way to go. Another way I've used the nuts is I've added oats to the nuts. So now we've got a mixed nutrient meal. And what I mean by that is that we've got all of our nutrients covered. We have the protein, we have the carbohydrates, and we have the fats. The oats in this little bar is going to be the carbohydrate. Of course, we know that oats are really great too because they're going to give us some fiber and even some protein. And then we're going to sweeten it with dried fruit and add those nuts. And again, you can make a recipe like this easily at home. Your favorite dried fruit, find a nut that you like and you can blend it together and press it out onto a baking sheet and bake it a little bit and you come up with your own energy bar. And of course there's some great recipes that are like that on Pinterest as well that show you how to do that. But don't forget to add in your mighty seeds. Anywhere you have a nut, try to add in the seeds too, and that just bumps up the nutrient quality even more. So here at Powerhouse Bakery we have the Parker bars, and we've seasoned them with cherries, blueberries, and even a little chocolate mint. Now this one, the chocolate mint one, is going to be a really great segue into something very exciting that I'm going to show you. This Parker bar is using cashews. Cashews are a great source of essential fats, really uniquely blended with linoleic acid, so that's a great quality of that cashew. Very important essential fat that's kind of hard to get in other foods. So what I'm going to do with the cashews is really switch gears, and I'm going to soak the cashews. So check out this pot. I've soaked these cashews overnight, and they're getting soft and plump. And so I'm going to boil them for about 10 minutes after they've soaked overnight, and we are going to make an amazing dish. Next week I'm going to show you this recipe, and it's going to be an exciting way to show you how to really change these nuts into a cream sauce. Who would have thought? So gone are the days that we have to use a heavy saturated fat sauce made out of cream and whole fat butters. Now we can use this beautiful nut that's loaded with the polyunsaturates and the monounsaturates that will now be part of a really healthy diet. Still high in fat, but the better fats, and that's what we love to really emphasize with using these nuts. And so making your own sauces is going to be so easy. The first thing you do is boil these larger nuts, and then you're going to cream them. So I'll be showing you that very soon. What other nut is very popular as a nut butter? almond butter. So here are these beautiful chopped almonds, and of course all almond butter is put these in a food processor and really break them down. So it's amazing how many things we can make out of these nuts. We've not only seen cream sauces now, we can even make cashew milk, almond milk, and hazelnut milk. So all kinds of ways to vary these nuts. But just be aware that when we turn the almonds into almond milk, the qualities are very different. No longer is it going to be as concentrated as this beautiful nut, or as you soon will see, as the cream sauce. When we turn it into a milk, most of the protein is taken out. So then it becomes pretty much low nutrient food. So I just want you to be aware of that when you're choosing a nut milk over a regular milk. You cannot compare them because a cow's milk has protein, carbohydrate, and fat pretty equally. And so when we try to turn a nut into a milk, it really changes that quality and it primarily becomes a carbohydrate. Strange, I know, but it's the truth. So when we start looking at how to make the most out of the essential fats that we can find in nuts, making a cream sauce is fabulous. Don't forget, it will be high in total calories. The other thing I'm going to show you is how fantastic it is to use these nuts as an add-in to other dishes. So gone are the days that we recommend you eating a bowl of nuts as your protein or your fat source if you're trying to eat more of a plant-based diet. What's better though is to add a few. So what I like to say is when you add some nuts to a salad, 4 or 5 walnuts is a really good amount to get started with. Crumble it up, add it to your salad, and it becomes a flavor enhancer, not a center of the plate. So just be aware of that when you're using these. 5 or 6 walnuts will be about 150 calories, about 12 grams of fat, so it does add up quickly. So just to keep that in mind. The other thing that we want to mention is that when you're making the cream sauces, what are we going to top it with? And so again, I'm going to show you some great ways to do that, but in general, you can top anything. Some of the popular things to add it too is some of the spiral vegetables, and so I'm going to be showing you that with spiralized zucchini. Of course, spaghetti squash comes out of the squash exactly how you want it, in strands. And so you can pull it out with a fork, add your cream sauce, and it's a beautiful way to have a pretty low calorie and of course low carb dish. Again, it won't be low in fat, but we can definitely have a great dish when we soften these and blenderize them up. The pistachio is a beautiful nut that isn't going to be as easy to make a milk out of or a cream. They're a harder nut, and so these are really better eaten whole as part of a salad. Again, you can have them as a savory dish or as a sweet dish. Like I've mentioned here in my Parker bars and the Going Nuts in the Tub, they have a sweetness added to them, but it's really fun to add something spicy. So one of the things I love to do with pistachios is add a lot of zing. So we could pull in a sesame oil or a walnut oil and add some spices. So you could do roasted garlic, you could add smoked paprika, you could add garam masala, some of the Indian spices, and really get creative. The first thing you would do is add a drizzle of sesame oil onto the nuts, just enough to make them shiny, and then add in your spice, so a little bit of salt, something a little bit spicy. Remember, you want to have something that's going to pop. And then roast it low and slow at a maybe 300-degree oven for about 8 minutes. It should just start smelling good, and that's when they're ready. Pull them out and let them cool, and they will be absolutely beautiful. That's actually what I've done with these Brazil nuts. So you can see there's some color on there. I've added some sea salt, a little bit of lime juice, and sesame oil, and they come out just absolutely gorgeous. And it's a great little snack. So when you're in the mood for a snack in between meals and you don't want something sweet, go for the nuts and adding a little bit of savory. So in general, when I go through the nuts, my recipe is going to be really fun. Using the cream sauce to top a spiralized noodle is absolutely the way to go. And then the other thing that I'll do is add in some greens. So when we want to have a real detailed dish that has all the colors incorporated, we want to have something that's bright green, something that's going to be earthy brown, which are the beautiful nuts, and then we could even add something bright and orange, like those colors of the spices. Paprika is also always one of my favorites, but turmeric is another one that will really add a lot of spice. when we do the beautiful vegan mac and cheese, we're going to be using the bright colored spices, you guessed it, of turmeric. And it turns this neutral color of cashew into an absolutely bright yellow color. So instead of it being a heavy cheddar cheese sauce, it's actually going to be a cashew sauce with that beautiful added turmeric, which we know is a great nutrient-rich spice that's high in antioxidants. So stay tuned. We're going to be sharing this beautiful recipe with you, and I'm going to show you in a couple of different ways to be able to use a cream sauce with the cashews. We're going to be adding the mighty seeds to that vegan mac and cheese, along with the butternut spirals, and of course you'll get to see all the different toppings. So stay tuned for that. I can't wait to share some recipes. And anytime you have a chance, the vegan mac and cheese is on our menu at Powerhouse Bakery. So come and join us, and we'd love to share with you. So we'll see you soon.